Welcome to your On TV news desk. I'm here with mayoral candidate Rory Ring. Rory, how's it going today?
Excellent, Riley.
Busy on the... No problem, always a pleasure. Busy on the campaign trail?
Absolutely. It feels like some days it's 24/7.
Oh, no, I bet. And the weather's only getting colder now, so...
Well, that's all right. You know, that heat and humidity...
It was a lot.
That's a lot, yes.
So, yesterday you sent out a release... Oh, you have it here. About taxes. Now, taxes have been a hot topic in this election. Something you've mentioned is putting a freeze on taxes in Sault Ste. Marie. And a lot of people are wondering, how can we put a freeze on taxes without cutting services?
Absolutely, and there's not any particular magic formula. Obviously, being able to get into a position and start to figure out how to do that once you're actually in office is a little different than saying to the public that you're going to do.
Right.
So a couple of things that we've addressed on our platform to lower taxes, and what the challenge is to freeze residential taxes for the term of council. You know, we've had increases in taxes of 11% over the last 4 years. In commentary to the tax freeze, the incumbent has come forward and said, you can't do that, where are you going to get the $10 million?
Right.
In that mind, it really basically says, I'm not willing to take a look at it. You better be prepared for a $10 million increase in your taxes. Well, I'm prepared to say we're going to find that $10 million by looking for efficiencies, productivity, right? The adoption of new technologies, giving staff new and improved tools to deliver the same services in a more effective and efficient way. Also, we want to move to make sure that we're doing budgeting on a 4-year rotation so that we start to see a little further ahead than running from year to year. That allows us to do better planning.
And think more long-term.
And think more long-term. So that better planning will give you better ability to control the expenditures.
So, talking about finding efficiencies, is there the possibility then of certain departments or positions to be cut or cut down within the city?
No, we're not talking. The thing about productivity and continuous improvement is that actually you are not looking at human resource deductions. You're actually looking at engaging your human resources to deliver better on the mandates that they have. But it also means that you need to be able to invest in the tools that will allow them to do those jobs more efficiently. Really, most municipalities and all levels of government are really being pushed to give more for less money. And really, if you take a look at the models within the private sector and you think about how much value you're now extracting out of some of the costs of items that you purchase, it really is kind of no different. Right? Reduce your pricing, give more value.
So ultimately, you're kind of looking at an approach where the staff and resources that are already in place will be better utilized.
Absolutely. You take a look at what we spend on outside consultants.
Right.
Even just on Monday Council, we hired 3 outside consultants, to the tune of maybe $150,000 to $180,000. Is there and can there be demonstrated, one, that we don't have that talent or the ability to make those decisions within our own organization? Do we not have that talent in our own community? Why do we continually need to be going to outside of community to find people to tell us how to run our business? We've got a ton of talent in Sault Ste. Marie, a lot of people that have the capability and the ability and really just want to roll their sleeves up and get it done.
And that was raised at council too by a couple of councillors. I believe it was Councillor Butland and Councillor Hollingsworth, maybe Councillor Myers as well, mentioned that they're disappointed that it wasn't kept local, that there wasn't a marketing team found locally that could take on the project. You're referring to as the Scott Thornley, to market the Sioux, is one example.
For the branding.
Yeah, is one example. Now, I was going to ask you about your thought on the city branding, because there was a lot of contention around it at council last night. And Councillor Butland did raise a question, what is our identity? Are we a steel town? Are we naturally gifted? Is it the energy? And Provenzano said, that's the problem, is we don't. Do you think we have to be unified into one in order to market ourselves to the broader market?
Well, we have to understand, I think, what the greater goal is. Branding doesn't attract investment. A good business environment attracts investment.
Right.
Does it help the brand and target your investment in growing business or attracting business? Yes, absolutely. Now, I've been involved in this process before in another community, and I've seen it done in half the time for half the cost. So, have we really taken a
good look at it?
A good look approach? Have we gone to other communities to see how much it costs, what the process has been? I've been involved in part of this process here locally, and I can say that we're spending too much money, I think, for the value that we're going to get out of it. We have to create here first a good environment for our businesses to grow and to invest in themselves. And we need to create a good environment for people on the outside to come and invest in our community. We don't have that right now, and that's part of establishing a strategic direction to lower your taxes so you can broaden the tax base.
All right, so we'll talk a little bit more about taxes and job development just after this short break. We'll be right back with Rory Ring on TV. We are back in the news desk with Rory Ring, talking a little bit about taxes, and now I kind of want to talk in your press about taxes. In your press release, you mentioned comparing, kind of doing a comparative analysis of Sault Ste. Marie to other cities.
Yes.
Now, this is where I think it gets confusing for voters, because on one hand we have Mayor Provenzano saying that we have the third lowest of a number of cities surveyed through the BMA study. That's lowest residential taxes. But then we have you saying that's not the case. And actually we're sitting much higher than on your sheet. You have Barrie, Peterborough, Sudbury?
Yep, North Bay.
And North Bay. So tell us a little bit about where your numbers come from and how you've interpreted the tax rates.
Yeah. So when you take a look at the way the numbers being presented by our incumbent is lowest tax on a per capita basis, right?
Okay.
So that's really kind of just based on people. Well, people don't drive your tax rate. It's actually the value of your house. So what the impact assessed value is. So we've taken a look at that on what it is per $100,000, and impact bases that on comparators. So what would it cost to replace it as an existing building? What would it cost to rebuild it? And what would those comparators be in other markets? And so it takes into comparison those elements that are critical to your own value within your own community. So some people argue that you can't do 100,000, but 100,000 is really the true value of which, to measure this. Then you have another component of tax. So you have your base tax component, an education tax component, and then you have subsidized taxes that the province transfers to the municipality to help reduce that tax rate. So what we've presented in our rate here is the all-in rate, because we have to understand that the transfer payment from the province is always under risk of being reduced or really even taken away, especially right now when you see that the province has announced that the current deficit is $15 billion.
It's a lot of money.
They're going to be looking for the low-hanging fruit because they're not going to touch essential services. So we really have to be prepared and know where we stand. What is our hard reality? And the hard reality is that we're paying significantly more here in Sault Ste. Marie than those communities like Sudbury and North Bay.
And that comes from the MPAC assessments.
These numbers come through the Ministry of Finance. So there is the $100,000 comes from MPAC. The rate that is used by the province, was set municipally, but the rate is actually published because they have to know what it is to do the OMPF transfer funding.
Is it possible that the property taxes recorded by the city would be different from the MPAC assessed?
Yeah, not from the MPAC assessed, because the MPAC assessment is just the value of the home. It's not the rate.
Right.
So they're two separate issues.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's where it gets confusing.
So what you will see is the rate gets set by the municipality, right, through the budgeting process. And that's why when you move to a 4-year budgeting process, you should be able to estimate what the next 4 years is going to look like in terms of your property taxes.
Right.
And that's essential, especially when you start to talk about industrial and commercial taxes, because businesses need to be able to plan.
Well, our industrial taxes are the highest of 102 cities surveyed by the BMA study.
So there's a great example of this in the recent council meeting, is that the fuel supply contract was awarded to an outfit in Oakville. and it was bid on by McDougall, and McDougall Energy was within about $50,000. Now, if you take a look at what the commercial tax rate is in Oakville versus what it is here, Oakville is get this, 0.86%. 0.86%. Ours is 2.97%.
So it's a no-brainer for that company.
So it means that McDougall Fuels is paying over 3.5 times in property tax than as if they were located in Oakville. And we're bidding on a local contract. So, you know, when I look at my platform and we talk about reducing taxes and creating jobs, Sault Ste. Marie first policy. We need to take a look at how we can work within the Municipal Act to make sure that we're taking possibilities of contracts and procurement with Sioux companies to generate Sioux jobs, to generate Sioux taxes, to generate Sioux prosperity.
So with that being said, if you were mayor and you received a number of requests for proposal, and it would cost more to go with the Sioux company over one that, let's say, it's in Toronto, would you still see the priority as going with the Sioux company?
So there's a process. You really have to abide by what is outlined in the Municipal Act. So you're able to do it, but there's very significant parameters around that. So we would need to engage our staff, you know, those that have expertise within the Municipal Act. It's being done in London. It's being done in Ottawa. So, you know, London has a London Sustainability Program.
Right.
Ottawa has a Buy Ottawa First program. So it can be done. We just need to make sure that we're doing it within the scope of the Municipal Act.
So there'd be a little more, we'd have to actually do some work to what our policies and bylaws are right now.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Rory, for coming in, taking the time off the campaign trail to talk with us.
I greatly appreciate it. I know the tax issue is confusing, but at the end of the day, you know, we don't have bottomless pockets of money, and we need to work more efficiently, and we need to put our citizens first.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, and we will be back with more news coming up on TV after this.